What's up, guys? Welcome to the first episode of Beyond the Joneses.
Yes. Woo-hoo.
So I'm super excited to be here today with my wife. This is going to be a podcast just talking about practical things that I guess we go through as a married couple, as a young married couple, and also any advice, any wisdom that we may have learned on the journey. We've already been married 3 years. We're 24 now. It's been a journey. We've learned so much, and with having 2 kids already, it's been something. We've lived a lot of life in a short period of time, and so we're just going to talk about practical things that we can hopefully share, principles that we can share that we've learned on the journey, and just our point of view, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I am hoping that people will be encouraged by what they hear, because we go through things that every marriage, every family goes through, and we just want to share like the things that we've learned and the knowledge that we're getting and the inspiration that we're getting from the Holy Spirit on how to tackle all of these different challenges that we might come across in our life. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be good. We've been talking about doing this podcast for a long time.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is that I've always been the one to inspire Destiny to actually go ahead and start hers. And so she started one first, and then I started one for my business. And so now we're coming together and we wanted to create something together for our YouTube channel, for our social media, and just for those people that's been asking, about us. I believe that we are a special couple.
I agree.
not special in a way that we're more than anyone else, but that we're just so on a
journey.
In that, and just we're both like complement each other so well.
Yeah, and I think we've just embraced the idea that we can't do this by ourselves and that we have to have the Holy Spirit. And I think that's one thing that's different about us, because a lot of people come into marriage thinking that it's just the two of the man and the woman, but I think we embraced from the beginning that we can't do it in our own strength, but we want to do it in a more excellent way than we've seen it exemplified in everyday life from other marriages and other couples.
Yeah, so we get to give just a lot of those examples of ways that we believe that marriage have a negative vibe, and kind of our point of view on that, and commitment and faith and just everything that comes along with being parents and husband and wife, because that is different. That's another level.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so we're going to talk about a lot of different things, and today we kind of just want to talk about the idea of marriage and why people come into marriage thinking a certain way and why some marriages fail because of that. So loving the idea of marriage is kind of what we're talking about today.
Right. And putting emphasis on that, loving the idea of marriage and not the actual journey of it. Because if you think about it, us getting married at 20 years old, we still have a good 100 years, of committing to one person when there's 7 or 8 billion people on the planet. And so that the idea of it is great, to think, at 20 years old, I'm going to commit to this person, but the journey is long.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's really easy to come into a marriage and have like certain expectations based off of what we've seen, because a lot of times if you look at it, we emulate what our surroundings are. So like, for instance, if someone sees a marriage that is failing, someone is always surrounded by people who end up in divorce, more than likely that's what's going to end up happening, unless they have a different mindset that they have embraced. And I think that the mindset is basically just that this is a serious commitment. It's not just an everyday relationship. It's not just a friendship. It's something that is solid. And something I thought about was the fact that when you are married, it's on paper. Mm-hmm. It's a legal document that you have in front of you, and both parties sign it. And when you think about like a legal document in itself, even in like an addition, like in a situation where there's an attorney present, there's going to be guidelines and rules that these two individuals are going to sign and agree to. And that's kind of what, that's what a marriage is. It's more serious than that, because it's spiritual and natural. But I think if we think in terms of that, we'll do a lot better as far as the mistakes we make in our marriage, how we think about our marriage.
Yeah.
If we think about the fact that it's like a legal thing and it's a spiritual thing and it's a serious thing.
Well, let me piggyback off that. I got just two things that kind of came to mind when you was talking about the legal document, the guidelines, things like that. There is something that you're signing in this spirit.
Yes.
Like, you know, there's you have kind of a soul agreement with your partner that, hey, I'm gonna be here through the thick and thin. And I know a lot of people, you're trying to find that perfect one. Well, they come in all shapes and sizes, you know.
Yeah.
You don't really know until you actually get to know the person. And honestly, there's a lot that we learned after we got married.
Yeah.
About each other. And I guess another idea is like, this is like you said, it's serious, but I believe that what we just said is the exact reason most people don't get married.
Yes, I agree.
Because of the signing of the legal document, physically and in the spirit, that's saying that I have to abide by these rules. And something that I've learned recently, not just for marriage but for life, is that it's much easier when you commit.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, when you have more than one partner,
yeah,
it's more work. But when you're actually able to commit to one, you're able to give that person everything that you got. You don't have to hold back. You don't have to, you're not holding on to something to give to another person, like the time, the commitment, the mindset, the knowledge that you have, the passion and the love that you have. You're not waiting, or you're not, basically putting a little bit off to the side for somebody else. You get to give everything to that person, to your family, and to the person that you've committed to.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, that's one of the reasons why people do stray away. I think that sometimes there's fear there because maybe they've had a relationship in the past that there wasn't fully committed to the whole relationship, and sometimes that can hold that person back, from even wanting it. And also, as far as us watching television and seeing other couples, the example, unfortunately, is focused a lot on negative things when it comes to marriage. And so it kind of makes you think, well, I'm not getting married because he's going to do this, she's going to do that. And so I guess that's
right.
that's why I was talking about the mindset thing. It's important because of how easy it is to unconsciously have those thoughts and opinions as it relates to marriage. It's important for us to get God's perspective on it and get a fresh revelation of what marriage will be for you and for your significant other. And yeah, I think it's important that we have God's view on things.
Absolutely. And now, so we did not at 20 years old married fully understand what it was going to take to actually have a marriage. We had never been married before,
of course,
yeah. And so there was a big part of us that was in love with the idea of marriage. And for me, growing up, I wasn't the one that always got the girl. I wasn't the one. I was the one that was always overlooked for being the nice guy, I'll say, because in my opinion, I was decent. I may not have been a 10, but I was up there with, I had a great smile, great personality. I was smart, played football, so I think that with those things, on your resume, you're supposed to be able to pick up, some girls or whatnot. But I wasn't the one that did. And what it helped me do, though, is it helped me look for the one. Since 12, 13, I've been looking for the one. I wasn't just playfully dating. I really wasn't. And so that's something that we have in common, that before we even knew each other, we wasn't playing about who we got with. But being in love with the idea was me wanting someone that choose me. And so when we got married, and I'm with my wife, and I'm looking at her, I'm admiring her, and just like wow, out of the 8 million people in the world, this person saw me and loved me and then chose me. Like that was all I wanted. My whole life was for somebody that's breathing, they got a heart, they got breath. Like, listen, this was so important to me, for somebody to have their own mind. Like, it wasn't forced on them to be like, I want you. And I'm talking about from a relationship stance, because I had family, I had people around me that loved me, but it was something about having a partner, having somebody that I could go through life with that said, I chose you, and so that was my idea that I fulfilled once I got married, and then there was a journey.
Yeah, I think for me, my ideas were kind of similar, but a little different because of my personality. I guess I wasn't that one that guys were chasing down either, or at least I didn't know they were, if they were. But I never knew like who I would be with, or like the type of person they would be, except I knew that I wanted a man of God, and my idea of a perfect marriage would have been like me being at home, with the kids, and my husband being a great leader. And so because I didn't really think much past that, I always had a great knowledge of what marriage was, and I knew that it was going to take work, and I knew that there were things that I wasn't going to be aware of once I got into the marriage. But my main view was, okay, I know I'm going to marry a man of God, and that's kind of where it stopped, really. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until we got married that I realized, okay, this is what marriage is.
Right.
It's not just what is on the outside. Like, there's so much inward things that happen, and when you come into a marriage, you realize that you're going to be vulnerable.
Right.
And every insecurity, every flaw, every idea and thought is going to come out at some point. And so, you get a little bit I'm not ready for this. And I think something inside of us does not want to admit that, okay, this is what I have to do in order for this marriage to work, Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a two-player game.
It is.
And that's something else that we learned. That's for another podcast about seasons. When one spouse is more doing more than the other. Yeah. But just going deeper into the idea of marriage and the reality of marriage, it's fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But to go back to piggyback again off of what you said that your mindset has stopped at the idea of a man of God. Mm-hmm. When a man of God is imperfect, when a man of God can get angry, when a man of God can be serious, can be boring, can be not really active, not have all the traits that you actually need as a partner. And so I know that there are a lot of women and men looking for that man of God, that woman of God. Listen, just because they are a man of God, a woman of God, does not mean that they're perfect, does not mean that they have made it. There are so many other things that come with it that has nothing to do with what you believe and what you look like outside of your house.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that's where that for better or worse comes into play. because you just don't know. Like, there's unknowns when you first come into marriage. There's no way you can know every single thing about a person until, like, unless you have that marriage commitment, honestly. Like, I mean, you can be very close, but there are some things that only are experienced in a marriage. And, you know, that's a reality that we have to grasp in order for our marriages to succeed. Like, there's going to be things that you find out about yourself that you're not going to like, and that your husband or wife is going to say, I don't like this about you, or I noticed this, and you have to agree or not agree, but you have to accept it. Like I said, accept it and be able to own up and take responsibility for it. And I think it comes with communication as well, like knowing how to approach that, how to approach your husband or wife about those particular things that you're not, like, that you realize that are flaws, or you realize it's a flaw about your spouse.
So don't get her wrong. I don't just tell her all the time like what's wrong with her. You know? And that's what that's what she meant by the next thing, by communication. You know, just because I say something don't mean that she have to accept it, don't mean that she have to agree with it. Or if one of us say something, then we talk about it. You know, that has been the most growth that we have had, because when we say something, we don't have to argue about it. Now, do we have arguments? Everybody do. But we, for the most part, we come back and we talk.
And that's something that we're still learning, but I definitely see the growth. You know, it's a lot easier to deal with hard situations, and it comes with practice, I think. Communication is hard, and everyone communicates differently. So with you and your spouse, you just have to know, like, what works best for you and how you guys get to a resolve quickly, and how to make each person feel heard and feel like, you know, okay, we're in this together. Like, that's the main thing we have to remember. Like, when we're having these conversations about those hard things, we're in this together. Like, it's not one against the other. Like, that's why the Bible says the two become one flesh. Like, we are literally one. So if I am saying something to you, like, I'm hoping my heart is saying, I want you to be better so that we can be better together. So
and sometimes it don't come across like that, but
I know.
Like, because of your record, I know that you don't intend to ever hurt me. And so that's the awesome thing. And it's just, like I said, marriage is so fun because you recognize, like, I recognize so much about her. She don't want me to know. It's just stuff that if I'm in the same room with her, I already know. Or something had happened, if a situation happened, I already know, you know, what's going on in her mind and how she's thinking. And
I guess I'm on nerves for real.
Because I could be just going about my day, and then I'd be like, hey, babe, you feel this? Is this, when this happened, is this what you thought? And she, you know, you know. But I think that comes with you know, just being committed to someone and watching them and just being in love with them and knowing everything about them, you know, as much as you can. And so just being present.
I agree. Marriage is a journey for sure. It's, like I said, it's very serious. But I think the main thing is to have that mindset that marriage is more than just two people in love. It's two people that have made a commitment, who've made this pact, so to speak, with God, saying, okay, we're going to represent your kingdom. Like, we're going to represent what you look like. And that's hard. That's a hard thing. And so I think when we think about it, we can't beat ourselves up too much, like when we miss the mark. But the idea is to strive for excellence. Strive to have a marriage that's beyond prosperous. Strive to have a life beyond prosperous. Strive to have kids that are intelligent, that love God. Strive to have all of those things that are what God wants us to have.
Yeah, I agree. And we're just going to spend just a few minutes on marriage with kids, because the idea of it is much different. I'm not going to say better or worse.
Yeah.
It's much different than the reality of it, because I have given up all sports activities because, you can't take your babies everywhere.
Yeah.
And then, and Destiny just do so much with them. I just, as much as I can, I like to just be here, be present. And, so that by itself, understand that there is a sacrifice to having kids. And, but they are so fun. Gabriella is at the perfect age for me. When she was a little baby and she couldn't walk, I couldn't do too, that wasn't my season. But now that she can walk, she can laugh, she can run, I just take full advantage, and we have a blast every day.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they are something else. And Ezekiel's going to be right behind her.
Goodness, yes.
Oh my gosh, he's growing so fast. I think he's going a little bit faster with him for whatever reason. It's probably just because we already have one. But marriage with kids, like you said, it's very different, very different. You have to think about everything. And it's not like we weren't thinking before. It's just like we could do things on a whim. We could just go on a trip spontaneously. But now it's a whole lot of things that we have to consider, and that's okay. I mean, it's just another responsibility, and honestly, it's a blessing to even have those two. I can't even put into words how much of a blessing they are to us, and I know that they're making us better as parents. And so I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional, but it's just God gave us the opportunity to raise these two beautiful kids and show them a prosperous life. And I just get excited and emotional thinking about it, because it's just such an honor.
And when you say, when you think about children being a gift, they truly are. Yes, they can be bad sometimes. They cannot listen to you sometimes. But it's something about, it's almost like when a woman get pregnant and give birth, there's a connection there that there's an experience there that a man will never have. And so to have kids, that's an experience that some people will never have. And so think about the privileges of it, not necessarily the hardship, and that's with everything in your life. With marriage, there are hardships, but think about the privilege of actually having somebody that chose you, and so that's how I think, in being able to give to her, being able to do whatever I can for her. And so, by the way, we have two kids. We want to properly introduce them as Gabriella Faith
and Ezekiel Jones.
Isaiah Jones. And so those are two babies. Gabriella is 19 months at this time, and Ezekiel is 4 months. They're going on being grown. And so thank you guys for hanging out with us today. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for hearing our story. This is the first episode, one of many.
Yes.
This is Beyond the Joneses. This is a deeper insight of kind of how we think, our perspective on life, our stories, and our journey.
I'm excited, and thank y'all so much for listening. I can't wait till we do this again.
Yes. Until next time, be blessed.
Be blessed.